Hi, my name is Ryan Smith with the IHSA. We're going to look at some more working heights equipment. This time we're going to look at a lanyard with a shock pack style shock absorber. Yet again, one of the first things we always need to look at with working at heights equipment is whether or not it's CSA certified. First thing we need to find out is we take a look at this shock pack here and we can see there it is. There's our CSA label, along with the other information we need, as well as weight ratings and other factors like that along the bottom. Excellent. Now we know this lanyard is CSA certified. After that, we need to make sure it hasn't been deployed. Well, with shock pack styles, deployment's pretty obvious. We can see this nice, tight, bound little package here. When we look at an example of a deployed pack style shock absorber, again, pretty obvious that this has been deployed. We know that this is no longer fit for use. Now, this material here is glued and or stitched together, and it reduces your fall force as you fall. This will tear away as you fall, and keep those forces to the CSA required minimum or maximum. So now that we know this hasn't been deployed, we'll go through inspection of the lanyard itself. We again have to have a dual locking connection at every connection point for working at heights. The dual locking feature on this snap hook is we have a lock on the back. We have to press that lock and then we can open the gate at the front. As always, it has to spring back and lock upon release. If that does not spring back and lock, you cannot lubricate these components. Time to replace it is really what it comes down to. Other things we're going to look for on the metal components on the snap rings of these lanyards here, we're looking for obvious signs of physical damage. Twists, bends, cracks, sharp edges, and corrosion, rust will take this out of service. Always be familiar with your owner's manual for the equipment you've been provided and look at what they deem to be acceptable. But rust will take these out of service with prolonged use. Once we've looked at the snap hooks, obviously we need to check, this is a twin leg, a wide lanyard, and again, so we need to check all three hooks for all three of these conditions. Make sure that they all snap and lock. There's no obvious signs of physical damage, bends, no cracks, no sharp edges. There we go. Fantastic. This lanyard is made of the same synthetic poly material that much work in heights equipment is made of. Again, that means that it is susceptible to cuts, nicks, tears, chemical damage, burns, abrasion, fraying. Check it for really any signs of physical damage, but obviously make sure you're checking those parameters as well. We'll go through the whole lanyard as we're looking for these parameters. One thing I like to talk about though is when we look at the eyelets, where these hooks connect, because this is a physical connection. These are going to rub in here all day, every day. We need to pull this hook out of the way. We need to pull the eyelet down. We need to take a look inside, make sure it's not being worn through from the inside out, because that will happen over time as this wears through the course of a day, day in, day out. And right, so then working my way down the rest of the lanyard here, we come across stitching. Of course, they have to fold this over on itself to secure it to different pieces of the lanyard itself. You often can't tell perfectly if the stitching's damaged from the outside. The best way to tell that is to actually open up that stitch and take a look at, try to open it up all the way along each of the four sides and make sure that it's not starting to separate. Of course, we have two legs here, so I have to check both, open them all up on all sides if I can, make sure that there's no stitching starting to separate, right? There we are. And then we'll continue down the legs. Now we should do them individually, so I'll start with one leg. If you run it across your hands like this, it makes any damage, any nicks pop, and much more visually apparent. So you run it across your hand, you make sure everything's in good condition. Of course, we come across stitching on the other side. We also come across an eyelet, so I'll pull this down, make sure it's in good condition, and I'll flip the lanyard over and run it back down the opposite way, checking both sides of the lanyard, right? And we'll do the same with the opposite lanyard. So run it through my hands one way, flip that over, and run it through my hands the opposite direction. Looking at both sides again to make sure that there is no sign of physical damage, cuts, nicks, tears, burns, chemical damage, which can include marker and other things like that. And then check the stitching on the opposite legs and the eyelet on the leg that I just inspected. Looks good. It's not worn through. Perfect. The stitching is not starting to separate anywhere along its length. Fantastic. Awesome. This lanyard looks like it's in good condition. It's fit to use. Awesome. Thank you very much. My name is Ryan Smith.